The courtroom fell silent. It wasn't the ordinary quiet of a legal proceeding, but a suffocating stillness that occurs only when a long-held belief collides head-on with a devastating reality. 11 words were all it took to potentially end a marriage, shatter a global brand, and expose a reality so disturbing that even the most hardened journalists in London stopped taking notes. Make him tear up when discussing Diana. Those words weren't screamed. They were read from a private message by Judge Margaret Thornberry in a voice that was clinical and cold. But in that sterile room, they became a scalpel cutting through years of a carefully constructed narrative. Prince Harry didn't just react. He shattered. Have you ever watched someone's world collapse in real time? I'm talking about something raw and unfiltered. That is what happened on that Tuesday morning in London's High Court. Up until that moment, the trial had been predictable. Lawyers were shuffling papers. The judge spoke in measured tones, and reporters were scribbling standard notes. But when the judge reached that specific line in the evidence, the entire atmosphere shifted. You could feel the oxygen being sucked out of the room. Every eye turned toward the witness box where Prince Harry sat. He was holding that famous military posture, shoulders locked, jaw set. Then the crack happened. His jaw twitched, his hands curled into fists so tight his knuckles turned bone white. His face, the face that has waved from palace balconies and smiled from the covers of 1,000 magazines, twisted with something far more primal than embarrassment. It was pain, a visceral realization that the worst lie he ever feared was more calculated than he could have imagined. These messages were never meant to see the light of day. They were private conversations between Meghan and a trusted friend. As it turns out, that friend had been cooperating with the defense. What she handed over wasn't just gossip. It was evidence of systematic manipulation. The evidence suggested that the pattern of behavior was not that of a vulnerable duchess driven out by a hostile press, but of a master strategist orchestrating a high-stakes personal rebrand. And at the center of that strategy was Harry's most sacred grief, his mother, Diana. Make him tear up when discussing Diana. Let that sink in. It suggested that Harry's grief, the trauma that defined him since he was 12, had been scripted and staged for headlines. Imagine discovering that your most intimate pain, the kind that wakes you up in a cold sweat, had been reduced to a media tactic. The judge continued reading, but nobody was listening to the legal jargon anymore. All eyes were on Harry. His shoulders rose and fell like waves crashing against rocks. His attorney requested a recess, citing severe emotional distress, but the judge denied it. The world outside was already exploding. Headlines were flashing across the globe. Prince Harry collapses in court, the message that changed everything. For the next few hours, Harry didn't say a word. He sat there, face flushed and eyes swollen, while message after message landed like a physical blow. One text referred to a private family dinner as a gold mine of reactive content. Another described plans to bake empathy into Harry's next appearance. And then the final nail. He wears grief like silk. We just need the right lighting. Think about that. Reducing a human being's deepest trauma to a fabric to be displayed for maximum effect. This wasn't just a reputation being dismantled. This was a man's entire worldview being destroyed in real time. As the proceedings moved forward, the defense entered what they call the narrative construction phase. It began with messages relating to the famous Oprah interview. Meghan's private text allegedly dissected Harry's language like a director reviewing an actor's performance. Good. That line about being trapped in the system landed well, but next time pause longer. One message read. There were notes on rehearsals. Whole paragraphs that appeared verbatim in their interviews were traced back to Meghan's drafts. Harry shifted in his seat, his back sagging. At one point, he rubbed his face so hard it left red streaks. He looked like a man trying to escape his own skin. Then the judge read, "He still wants their approval. It's pathetic, but I can use it." The guilt over his mother makes him easy to redirect. Someone in the back row whispered a prayer. Harry flinched, but he didn't sob this time. He just closed his eyes and kept them shut. His security detail stepped forward, ready to act. According to a palace aide, Harry looked as if he had forgotten how to be in his own body. The monetization of royal pain became the next focus. Messages discussed which childhood memories still had shelf life. Meghan had written, Don't waste it all on the first product. Harry's got layers. The abandonment arc still hasn't been fully tapped. Imagine your childhood trauma being discussed like a television series with multiple seasons to exploit for profit. Another message suggested getting a clip of him talking about the Queen's corgis because nostalgia is pure engagement. By this point, Harry was no longer reacting. His hands were limp, his breathing shallow. When the judge finally asked if he needed a recess, he simply nodded. It was the nod of a man whose decisions had all been taken from him by the person he trusted most. When court resumed, the evidence was organized into monetization, family manipulation, and emotional exploitation. The first category revealed branding memos dressed up as personal correspondence. A list showed Diana legacy equals Halo, William equals unresolved tension, Catherine equals comparison vector. Their Netflix contract was described as a pension vehicle. Meghan wrote about stretching the trauma across 3 projects to ensure cash flow. She used the term trauma-fatigue pacing. What the public saw as organic now looked painfully transactional. The second category detonated the moral foundation. Messages showed Meghan viewed the royals as players in a negotiation. Prince William was a threat because of his institutional loyalty. Catherine was the uncrackable mask. Meghan expressed frustration that Catherine hadn't reacted to provocation, saying, "If she cracks even once, it shifts the narrative." More unsettling were messages about King Charles, described as sentimental and weak, whose guilt over Diana was a lever that could be pulled. The final category was the deepest cut. Messages about Harry's vulnerabilities and night terrors. Meghan recounted a therapy session where Harry opened up about a dream of his mother's face. "I told him to write it down," she texted. "Could be powerful." His grief was being transformed into content before his tears were dry. But one message silenced the room. He says he misses his brother. "I told him that's just memory, not reality." Had to redirect fast. This wasn't communication. It was control. The official response from King Charles was restrained but heavy. "This is a difficult time. Some matters are best resolved privately." Sources described the king as drained. His first words were, "This is not vengeance. This is gravity." He instructed his household, "No gloating. This is not a victory. It's a collapse." What hurt Charles most was seeing his son as a pawn. Prince William, however, burned in silence. He was furious, especially regarding the messages about Catherine. Within 48 hours, the global reaction was an avalanche. Even Meghan supporters were speechless. In the U.S., morning shows featured psychologists analyzing manipulation tactics. Social media trended with hashtag Harry deserves better. Corporate sponsors entered indefinite review. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a trauma specialist, explained that when someone uses your deepest wounds as tools, it fractures your sense of reality. Harry was discovering that moments he thought were genuine were actually performances he was directed to give. The most heartbreaking footnote was Archie and Lilibet, referenced in texts as branding opportunities. Legal experts began speculating about custody. Harry's deepest fears surfaced. Were his children's milestones documented for memories or for content calendars? Public sentiment shifted toward pity. A new narrative emerged. Harry the betrayed. King Charles reportedly sent word that Harry would be welcomed back privately. "The institution has rules, but a father has none," Charles allegedly said. Even Catherine believed the children deserve a connection to their roots. Only William remained silent, his wounds more personal. Harry now faces 3 paths: stay and try to forgive, leave and fight for his identity, or return to a family that offers comfort but will never forget. Each path carries a massive price. But after the tears, truth is what Harry craves most. He is still a son, a brother, and perhaps soon he might be ready to come home. Can love survive when the truth shatters everything? Can Harry find his way back? Share your thoughts below.